didn't really care too much for like the airborne accuracy stuff.
Well, from what I heard and what I've read so far, it's a lot of PvP stuff. So maybe you can enlighten us on some of that because, again, I'm not a big PvP guy. I've seen things about this aerial stuff. I do know there is a couple PvE things or changes that will be coming that will be affecting PvE. And we're gonna send a salute off to Stompies as we get down to it because. If you have not heard, Stompies absolutely got buried. Not 6 feet under, probably about 24. Because, my God, did they destroy... Like, when you talk about a nerf, ladies and gentlemen, you talk about nerfing something, yeah, Stompies got nerfed. And I'll tell you how I feel about it, but we'll take it from both aspects. Because I think, as a PvE player, kind of upset about it a little bit, but... We'll talk because if you fit one of them into tote and one, yeah, you have like thousands more totes, so you have more stuff on the conveyors, which then clogs things up. Got it. I'm just streaming my screen just so if you want to like see where I'm at reading along. So.
Yeah, I have you up. I'll start getting my coffee too. Just having a cup. I didn't have any coffee today.
Solid. Did you go right to bed after you logged off last night, or did you stay up?
Oh, dude, I had to get more smokes, but that was an adventure on its own, because I had to walk to the 7-Eleven.
Yeah, you could not have a drive last night.
Yeah, no, it would not have been advisable. So I go there, and I get one pack, right? And I leave. And then, like, when I'm halfway back home, I'm like, you know, I really should get a second one, just in case. And I go back, and there's 2 cops cars there. Now, mind you, it's been, like, maybe about 10 minutes or so, because I'm on my phone, and I'm trying to walk and, you know, not play Frogger on the road, right?
Mm-hmm.
Apparently, they had a delivery truck there that got robbed. So, I'm kind of just chilling there. I'm like... you know, waiting for them to get done talking to the cops, and I'm just like, yeah, I'm just here to pick up a pack of smokes.
Thinking about you in that situation.
I was just chilling, man. I was just like, of all the times this has happened, I'm still like drunk as hell, so I'm just like, oh Lord.
All right, let's talk about this TWAB for a little bit, and then we'll game for a little bit. Guys, tonight we're going to talk TWAB. We have tater tots that we're going to eat, obviously. We're going to game a little bit. The subpar wife, Miss Maddie, when she gets done work, and we'll see how she's feeling. She has pulled in all day, or she was at work at 5:30 this morning, her time. So we'll see how she's feeling when she gets home from work. But if she's feeling good and wants to game a little bit, we will be gaming with her a little bit later tonight with that. So... I think, I mean, they started off, this is a big sandbox TWAB, and they do these every once in a while, a couple, like, you know, prior to the start of the next season. Some of this stuff's going to go into effect with some of the patches that they're going to put out in the next couple weeks from what I've seen, but the majority of it is, I guess, season 17 that we're going to get, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So they're talking about, like, how everything kind of started. This is all just fodder and stuff like that. And they're going to be talking about the sandbox. So this is where we'll get into the sandbox. So what we're going to kind of cover a little bit is Glaives and their design and future tuning, the flinch airborne gameplay, which Cookie was talking about. I think this is pretty much a PvP focus on that. Tuning one-hit kills in Crucible, also PvP. And then general tuning, special ammo, exotic weaponry. A lot of PvP tuning with this, but there is some impact with PvE in my mind. So they kind of start off and they introduce levers to tune how players build for airborne gameplay. So what they're talking about is like when players jump in the air and stuff like that, and have like a lot of the combat in the air. They want to like get it to where players can build, I guess, around this, and they're gonna nerf it a little bit. And we'll get into what they're gonna nerf here because they do get into it a little bit, right? Or is this where they kind of talk to it?
Was that
No.
you asked me the question, or?
Yeah, no, successfully engaging the air will no longer be as simple as putting a wrist grip on, but the upside of heavily investing will be higher. So this is just kind of like going into what they're going to be doing when hit kills and addressing feedback on weapons across all game modes. So, all right, we're going to start with glaives. So, they noticed that glaives and how they're interacting with armor perks and mods and stuff like that, aspects and stuff, how it was interacting with it. This is kind of just a synopsis. Again, it's up there. You can read it word for word. But the melee is a basic melee attack. It's not a weapon attack. It's literally like you punch, and that's your punch with a sharp spear at the end of it. So what was happening was weapon buffs were getting procced by glaive melee hits. So what they're doing is they're separating it. So if you use the glaive as a melee, you can proc melee buffs. But if you use it as a weapon, you can proc weapon buffs. From what I kind of got out of this a little bit, because allowing buffs to weapon damage to apply to glaive melees would be too powerful for something with without an ammo limitation, particularly in PvP, or even a small damage buff would allow for incredibly fast 2-hit kills. Also, in general, we prefer to increase glaive melee damage directly, as we're doing, in fact, of effectively making weapon damage perks mandatory on glaives. Glaives are already have a long lunge distance, and increasing this as a result in unreliable behavior over the network. So melee lunge distance buffs apply to glaive melees. So what they want to try to do: glaive melees should activate perks that trigger off-base melee damage or kills. Ammo refill from Grave Robber. These are examples. Weapon damage buff 5 times stacks on Swash. Ammo refill from Sealed Hamakata Grasp. Say that 5 times fast, good. Glaive should not activate perks that trigger off-powered melee damage or kills, or required expending subclass melee energy, such as Combination Blow or Assassin's Cowl. Glaive melee should benefit from melee damage buffs. Melee should not damage. We talked about that. And projectiles should benefit from weapon damage buffs. With that said, they've seen a lot of inconsistencies in the game. They've already fixed some things. They're going to try to fix some more things and tune it some more. So what they have done already: projectile hits reach maximum energy decrease from 6 to 4. Glaive melee can now be interrupted by a hunter dodge. So if you're dodging, is that on the end of the combatant, do you think? So like if I'm a hunter, you're a titan, you have a glaive. If you're hitting me and I dodge, it won't auto lock on me? Or if I'm the hunter with the glaive, it would cancel out the melee when I'm dodging?
So, which line are you seeing that at? Is that what you have highlighted right now?
Yeah, no, this, where was it? This one here.
Glaive melee can now be... Yes, so, you know how, like, when you saw, like, Maddie using a glaive on comp the other night, right? So, like, it was basically lunging towards your characters, but if a hunter dodges back, you shouldn't just be able to keep chain meleeing and, like, automatically...
It breaks that chain. Got it.
Exactly.
Grave Robber perk now pulls from reserves on glaives instead of generating ammo. Glaives no longer get stuck in clang recovery when using a melee attack on each other. Sealed Hamakata Grasp no longer reloads glaives on projectile hits, but does on melee hits as expected. Glaive melee is no longer stun lock high health combatants. Interesting. I didn't know that was a thing.
I think with unstoppable chance with glaives, the way it used to be, it was like you can just throw an unstop mod on there.
Just
especially if they pair. Yeah.
Melee kills are now tracked in match history for bounties and so forth. Here's what they're changing for Season 17 Cook. Pushing the glaives deeper into the roles of hard-hitting melee damage and near complete protection when shielded, as well as increased projectile speed to make them more reliable at range. When I heard this next thing we're going to say, I heard this earlier, I was like, holy heck. Glaive Shield grants 97.5% damage resistance in PvE, 75% PvP. Literally, if you have your shield up, nothing can hurt you. Almost.
Well, at least if you've got like maybe one person shooting at you if you're in a 1v1.
I wonder, does the shield, because I've not used glaives enough, does the shield, when it gets hit by enemy fire, does it decrease the shield time?
I don't think it decreases the shield time, but I think you can take so many hits before it goes away. If that made sense. Like,
well, it's on a timer, right? Like you have to charge it up, and then it's on a timer.
Yeah, and you charge it up by killing enemies with your ranged attacks. But as you've probably seen a few times, for the most part, trying to shoot someone with a glaive at long range, unless it's like a super large target, is difficult.
Got it. We'd have to concur with our resident glaive expert, the subpar wife, because she loves running around with glaives and just smacking people in the face with them.
So the way I've noticed when you're shooting a glaive is like you have to like lead your shot, if that makes sense, because the glaive round itself isn't gonna like track. So it's,
and it has a fall off too. Like I've noticed, it has a hard fall off.
So like even when you're like you think you're aiming like straight, it kind of veers to the side a little bit. But it's easier to dodge. It's easier to dodge a glaive than it is a Yoan. Let's put it at that.
Increase melee damage versus PvP enemies, except for bosses and vehicles, by 25%. Interesting. I thought it was already powerful enough, but maybe orange bars. I guess they were tuning that for a little bit. Reduced energy drain speed while shielded by 30%. So they reduced the drain speed by 30%, and you're protected 97.5% with that. So they slowed down the drainage, and they gave you more protection with it. Interesting.
Yeah, and the reason they're also doing that is for the exotic glaives.
Yeah, and they mentioned that a little bit down here.
Yeah, because right now, like, they're essentially a waste of an exotic slot.
Increased projectile speed dependent on range stat. So you have 0 stat 30 to 60 milliseconds. Hello, Mr. Gunny. Hello. Hello. How are we doing tonight? 100 stat increase from 80 to 100 milliseconds. Okay, and this is where you're talking about the exotic glaives.
Correct.
What? I haven't got mine yet. Because I've been putting off some of that stuff with the raid and stuff like that. You have them all, right? Do you have all three, or do you just have the Titan one?
I only have the Titan one. I still have to like throw myself into Wellsprings and my other characters, or just in general, to get the other patterns. But what I can say about the Titan one is, so once you've gotten like the energy full, you launch basically like a miniature Titan bubble. And anybody can go inside that. But basically, it's like for one person. Like, you can try to fit 2 people in there, but it's going to be tight.
They mentioned that the Titan Glaive players now gain a void overshield while inside the bubble. Helm of Saint 14 now applies to the bubble as it does Ward of Dawn. So you're getting that same blinding effect and stuff like that if things are going on inside there. Warlock Glaive Edge of Intent, increased speed and acceleration of healing turret projectiles. And then the Hunter Glaive, which I've heard and I've seen a couple things with this, they said this is probably the biggest buff out of all three. With the Hunter one, it tripled the damage of wave detonation, increased the number of enemies it can chain from 4 to 8. But again, I haven't done it, but that alone, like, it sounds like that's probably like the best out of the 3.
Well, yeah, it's the more damage focused one. The other 2 are basically
protection,
for defense, and support.
Now with the Titan Glaive, it spawns the bubble. So if I'm on your fire team, I can inherit the buffs from that.
So it should work like if I dropped like a bubble as a bubble Titan. So like if I shoot the bubble out, like it's not gonna it's gonna be like wherever it lands, right, on the ground. So if I shoot it at the ground in front of you and you go inside there, you should get the overshield and stuff like you would, or whatever buffs you would get from a Ward of Dawn. You should get.
Okay, That makes sense.
At least I think I'm interpreting that correctly.
That's what I'm kind of looking at it as. Again, guys, we're subpar and potato game players, so if you take any of our opinions and be like, "Oh, Virgin Cookie said this," just put in there Misadventure King.
Damn.
At the end of it.
I really should start adding don't quote me on that.
Don't quote me on this. Actually, let me do this. We're gonna do this and send this to the subpar wife real quick.
I have a snipping tool.
That over there.
I'm hoping we get an Arc Glaive next season. Legendary Arc Glaive, let me correct that.
Alright, so we talked about the exotic glaives. Okay, Cook, so here's your flinch reducing stuff with that. So they talked about they were going to reduce flinch, and you could have a chance to well, no, they're going to increase the ability to be stable with certain weapons. So aim deflection on receiving damage, typically called flinch, is a common pain point, particularly on primary ammo weapons. We rebuilt this ability weapon stat to grant flinch resistance in addition to its other effects, with the maximum flinch resistance 10 to 25%, depending on weapon archetype. With this change, players can build for flinch resistance more easily on weapons that feel flinch more than others, and less so on special weapons, which we don't want to be easier to use when under fire. So again, the special sniper rifle, it's probably has some perks on it that's making it a little bit of a better sniper, and you want to feel that impact of somebody hitting you and you flinching when they're trying to hit you while you're trying to line up a shot.
Yeah.
You might not feel the difference using this just from one source of flinch resist, but when stacking 2 or more sources, the benefit is strong. So higher zoom weapons, more affected. So this is with 100 stability. Flinch resistance is 25% for auto rifles, submachine guns, guns, bows, 20% pulse rifles, scout rifles, sidearms, machine guns, 15% hand cannon, trace rifles, 10% fusion, shotgun, sniper rifles, grenade launchers, with breacher drum, linear fusion rifle, rocket launcher. Note that a stability stat of 20 will technically have a small flinch resistance penalty, but not around 5 weapons. But only around 5 weapons have a stability stat in that range. Thoughts on that?
So I think it's gonna make so if I'm understanding it correctly, I'm looking it over with you as well. I think the biggest issue, one of the biggest issues people have in PvP right now is like when you're down a lane and you got somebody lined up and you're shooting them. You get them like down to one, like they're about to be one shot, and as you're shooting them, they like one tap you in the head with a sniper.
Yes.
Not saying one tapping in the head of a sniper is a bad thing, but it's the fact that they're still able to shoot in a straight line while they're getting lit up like a Christmas tree.
Yes.
So I feel like this will actually kind of like even out the playing field in some cases, where you're probably going to see like, depending on how they build the characters, you're probably going to see less like snipers like running up to like do a real like trick shot quick scope out of nowhere, because if they're getting flinched bad while trying to do that, they might try to play back more.
Okay.
Which is good.
Yes. Obviously, because
that's a big one.
This is the big one here, man. So what they're doing is the resilience character stats. So resilience on your armor pieces. So resilience, like it has usually, like I've hovered around between 5 and 6 on this.
Yeah.
0. So 0% is 0 stats. So when they're talking about stats, that's the item number on the armor.
Yeah.
So 0 stat, you have 0 resistance to flinch. So if you have 0 resistance on, you're gonna have a lot of flinch with all of these weapons, even with the resistance that they have on those guns. Then, if you're up at 100 stats, so a 10, you have 100%. I mean, a 10% resistance buff to flinch. Correct. So, what they say is 100 stability stat, Suros Pulse Rifle with Suros Synergy active. You have 10 resilience, no distractions, and 2 unflinching Pulse Rifle armor mods while buffed by Rally Barricade. 90% flinch resistance. When you add in all the mods, all the buffs that you're getting from that, 90% flinch resistance. So what this is going to
feel a little bit more realistic.
What's that?
Gunfights are gonna feel a little bit more like I use that term lightly, realistic, because space stuff and whatnot.
Well,
but you're if you want to be able to shoot in a straight line like no other, you've got to really build around it for like what you want to do there.
And that's the point. Like, and I think that's one of the things they're trying to push this build crafting more, like crafting and making builds with this, because again, look at all that it takes to get 90% flinch resistance. Okay.
Yep.
You have to have the Suros Pulse Rifle with its synergy active. You need to have at least a 10 resilience, which means you have to have an armor piece which is fully maxed out in resilience.
Yep.
No distractions, and 2 unflinching pulse rifle armor mods. No distraction is a perk on the gun, so you have to have that proc. Then you have to have mods on there. Then you have to be buffed by a rally barricade. So there's a lot of moving pieces going on in that to get that 90%, and you're only getting it for a short amount of time. This isn't something that's going to be long lasting. So how do you maximize that? Again, this is all PvP. This for me, I'm not.
So I don't think that's gonna make much. So when I'm thinking like these PvP things, I'm not thinking of it as 6v6 nonsense.
You're talking trial stuff.
I'm thinking trials and comp, because when you've only got 3 other bodies to worry about, it's easier to find a point with your team and be like, all right, let's watch this lane. If they're all there, you got a Titan, drop that rally barricade, start lining them up.
Got it. They also give another example of a 70 stability hand cannon. You have a 5 resilience, which is usually where I'm hovering around. 1 unflinching hand cannon armor mod. So you have this breaks it down with that 39% flinch resistance. So you see the difference with that. So you're gonna have to really have like a kit built for what you want to run in PvP. You're gonna have to, because you're going to have to grind an armor piece and grind a set that you have a 10 resilience. Like, right now, like, you don't have that. So you maybe people look for that. So that's it. That's interesting. I thought that was an interesting thing with that. Just knowing that now it's like, ooh, let me look at a build maybe with, kind of focus on heavy resilience armor to kind of look for and hunt down and kind of tuck it away to maybe utilize that. Because I know one of the things I hate, which really bothers me as a game player in that, is flinch. Like, I struggle with it so much because I shoot like crap anyway, guys. Like, I can't, if everything was perfectly calm, like a lake, on a beautiful calm day and it's glass, you don't have to move or anything, I still would miss somehow. It happens, but again, subpar game. This is the one Cook was talking about, Airborne gunplay. Okay, so before we get into build crafting, making it
for them hunters and warlocks,
made a fundamental change to the modifiers applied while airborne. Your primary weapons will have less randomness in projectile accuracy in most cases. You'll have less aim assist instead, and will need precise aiming to land your shots without building heavily into airborne. We've added a new weapon stat, Airborne Effectiveness, which is present on all weapons except those where being airborne doesn't have an effect. Swords, for example. Okay, which maps onto aspects of airborne gunplay using these guidelines. With little to no investment, 0 to 30 airborne stat, a character will have a smaller accuracy penalty than retail, but will have a significantly lower aim assist. Minimal investment, 31 to 50, character will have around the same in-air accuracy as Icarus-equipped weapons do currently, but with noticeably lower aim assist. Substantial investment, 51 to 70, the character will have a better accuracy than retail weapons with Icarus, with fewer misses due to randomness, but with reduced aim assist. Specialized investment, 71 to 99, a character will have no airborne accuracy penalty with very slightly less aim assist. With full investment, 100 airborne stat, a character will have no airborne accuracy penalty and same aim assist. The stat has been hand-tuned. This stat has been hand-tuned on all exotic weapons, everything that shipped from Season 16 to 17, and everything that shipped as Trials of Size Nightfall loot. Older legendary weapons have a default value set per weapon archetype to a value just below the middle or of the allowed stat range. This will be a hidden stat in Season 17 launch, similar to aim assist and recoil direction. You'll be able to check the stat out specifically through the API. And in Season 18, several previously hidden stats will be visible on weapons. That's good. Just let us see everything. That works. Okay. You want to talk about this real quick?
Yep. So I think that's going to be really, really good. So to put it bluntly, as Titan boys,
give me a second to be right back.
Generally don't see us up in the air
shuddering.
that much, or when you do, we're generally coming down pretty quick, right? The thing I think that's really gonna hit the most is gonna be the top tree solar warlocks. Because let's face it, on like comp or sixes, you see a lot of airborne warlocks with like DMT or some type of scout or hand cannon. They're just floating up there and they're Icarus dashing around. Even with the Icarus nerf, they're still a menace at times. Hunters, you usually see him jump, like the stasis ones, or some of the void ones, you'll see him jump up, toss their nade, and then start lighting up the hand cannon shots. So I feel like that's going to stop a lot of that. Like, I'll use the word lately, and I'll probably get some flack for this. It's gonna stop that crutch significantly, unless someone is actually trying to build around that, which again I think is good, because now when you're someone's going into PvP, especially if they're PvP mains, they gotta think like, okay, how do I want to build this character? Am I gonna stay up in the air all the time? Do I want to do this? Because not all the maps you can just float around in the air 24/7. I mean, you got like Anomaly or some other like more enclosed maps. You can't really do that a lot. You can't do that a lot on
Anomaly. What's the other one on the moon?
It's
the one in in the middle, and everything's pretty much that one outside section.
But like you're gonna see less of those being spammed on a lot of the open maps. Or let me put it this way. For someone that's fully dedicated to PvP, and I'm sure there's some out there that have like multiple sets. Like for me, I've got one set of PvE armor, one main set of PvE armor, and then one main set of PvP armor. But now, what's going to be with all this coming in next seasons, you're going to start seeing, multiple sets of PvP armor. So like you said, right, you're going to have like some stuff that's more for, flinch resistance. You might have someone that has a set for all this airborne stuff. But I feel like we're going to start seeing a lot more of like those individual builds, like probably by like close to the middle of the season, as people start testing out these things. But I still think that that's going to be good in terms of like not having to see that same crutch on every single open map, because I'm sure there's a lot of people out there, not even just Titan mains, but other non-solar warlocks or hunters that are tired of getting the AC 130 to the face.
It'll be nice as a casual, and when I mean casual, I mean it with the most casual of casual PvP players.
Well, here's what I like about this TWAB so far, at least, what they're doing here. Because, like, for the longest time, PvP hasn't been, like, addressed. And I mean, like, to, like, this extent. To where we're going into the archetypes, the perks, like, movement, little individual things. So they're addressing a lot of the stuff that, folks have been talking about. And even later on with some of the weapon reworks, where's one I'm really excited
What do
for.
we do? What do we do like in PvP? I mean, in PvE. Like when we're in PvE, like if we go into a raid or we go into a grandmaster, and a higher level event. Like, and now I want to compare it to trials. What do? We have to build a kit around it. We have to have certain mods on. We have to have certain things that's going to get us damage, break shields, stun champions, etc. I think this is, and again, I'm not a PvP guy, but if I was looking at it from somebody who plays PvP, like this is giving you, hey, we're going to put some restrictions on some things, but if you really want these things, you're going to have to craft around it and do it. Like, you're not going to get the aim assist at certain things with certain things on, but if you want that, you're going to have to give and take. Like, there's certain things in that Grandmaster the other day, you have to give up being comfortable and rely on getting skillful with something else. So, I think with this, and then you look at this, okay, so now you're talking about aerial gameplay, then you have to also think, okay, do I have something on for flinch? And now you have to start to build all around this, like, thing, especially going into, like, higher end game content and stuff like that. They go into, like, cones and stuff like that. I have no idea. Do you want to talk anything on this cone, aim assist cones and stuff like that? I have no idea what this.
Not really. I think that stuff is more towards, like, votes on controller versus on...
Got it.
Mouse and keyboard. I mean, I feel like instead of... I feel like instead of making it a bit more balanced for folks playing on controller versus playing on MNK, which I'm all for.
It looks like weapons have base airborne effect stats. It's just hand cannon 0 to 25, sidearm 0 to 30. So they have all this lined out here. It looks like some of your smaller weapons have a little bit more. And as you start to go up linear fusion rifles, rocket launchers and stuff like that, you really start to lose some of that. Again, I PvP wise, like, I'd definitely recommend going and seeing some of the main PvP guys, like, out there in the community, because they did it. I mean, this is Weapon Outliers. Sweet Business is 27 in the air.
Yo, you get that thing like fully propped.
The Huckleberry, you're my Huckleberry. Rat King, Skyburner's Oath. Okay. Ace of Spades, an example of an exotic that already plenty strong enough and doesn't need to excel here. So Ace of Spades is already good in the air, so they're not going to do that. Chaperone 1 in the air, I mean, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
And there's a Redacted. Touch of Malice?
Oh, God, please no. Correction, please yes, but no.
Yeah. And these are hand-tuned. They talk about subclasses. Heat rises plus 70 while heat rises is active, consuming your grenade, which makes sense. That's what it's supposed to do. Tempered metal, plus 20 after getting a solar weapon kill, and Whisper of Hadron stasis fragment, plus 20% after freezing a target. Exotic armor revolves around being airborne or works on specific weapons, grants a bonus or penalty in the -50 to 40% range or higher if conditional, okay? So for Tracer, 20%. Trick Sleeves, plus 50 to sidearm, so you'll get 25 plus 50, so you get 75. Oathkeeper, plus 40 on bows. Sealed Amankara, Grass, plus 50. Lucky Pants, plus 20 hand cannons. Here it is, folks. If you had a pair of Stompies, now they don't mention, and this is what I want to see, what the effect of them nerfing Stompies this much. I think this is gonna be more seen in PvP than PvE, but For me, Stompies are like Lion Ramparts. They are a jumping, a exotic leg piece that helps me in tougher jumping mechanics. That's what I use them for. I don't know how this is going to affect PvE. Do you think this is going to affect PvE?
So, in terms of this, I don't think it's going to affect your actual movement itself, since this section is more focused on like your aerial stuff. So like, and I don't know about I don't know how about you. Me personally, I'm not usually jumping in the air too much shooting in PvE as I am in PvP.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think it's gonna actually affect your actual movements. Because remember when they did that when they nerfed the hell out of Dude Marchers.
They still are effective.
Dead. But I run them I run them every time on my Titan. Every time I'm in that raid jumping puzzle type deal, I'm always wearing my Dude Marchers.
When I'm in the raid jumping puzzle, if I'm on Titan, I have Lion Ramparts on. If I have Hunter, that is the only time that I will wear Stompies. I have never worn Stompies at all in a PvP match, so I have no idea what they feel like at all.
Stompies, it's again, it's more so just like for me, I like them because Stompies, Dune Marchers, and Transversus Steps all fall into the same category for me, and that's just like movement, quickness type deal. That's really it. The other item, like for my Warlock that I'll use in PvE/PvP, not Warlock, sorry, Hunter, for PvE/PvP is Dragon Shadow.
Correct.
And that's a chess piece.
Correct.
I can run that in either encounter and be just fine.
Freaking what am I thinking real quick? I'm brain dead right this second. Worm Husk on Hunter.
No, I don't even run Worm Husk.
Or Bascarus, however you say that.
Master Bascarus. Yeah. If anything, I've been seeing more Worm Husks.
Yeah.
In PvP.
Well, and also Renewal Grasper thing too.
That too. Mm-hmm.
So they give examples of like what a good combination of weapons are, but again, like you're looking at, a certain weapon with certain mods and certain exotics versus your flinching. So you got to figure out how to balance it out. Like if you want a 10 and something, like if you want like no flinch, then you got to build around no flinch and then maybe take a penalty in airborne effectiveness. Or if you want all airborne, you may have a little bit of flinch with that. Or if you want to balance the two out, just like we would do like with the armor sets, like that if you don't have like god tier armors on every single piece you have, then you need to balance it out a little bit. So huge weapon changes and stuff like that. They show a bunch of graphs like and stuff like that. This is just the analytic guys in this game are also like chewing this up and spitting it out. Like I'll go listen to what they have to say to kind of get a better understanding of it even more in depth. They talk about playlist weapons. Latest playlist weapons drop from Gambit Crucible and Strike Activity Completion. Older weapons are available from vendor rank packages and can be focused.
Mm-hmm.
These weapons are intended to provide an interesting drop even for players who spend a lot of time in an activity. And while we want to keep the large perk pool to address that goal, we want to provide a way to reduce the duration of the chase for players who want a specific weapon. Also, since older playlist weapons are still available as vendor rank up rewards, we want them to feel more relevant in post-origin trait world. Playlist weapons now have a chance to roll with extra traits in one or both columns, increasing with the number of rank resets that the vendor has during a given season. So you invest in running strikes over and over again. The more you rank up with Zavala, the better your Vanguard specific weapons will be, etc. All playlist weapons from Beyond Light and later will drop with the appropriate origin trait. Stat display update. I like this. Following the recent change to show numbers for all sets instead of just bars, We've opted to change the stat display on weapons to clearly reflect their capabilities. All weapon stat bars now range 0 to 100. Instead of
Hold on, I'll
being...
be right back.
Yep. Instead of limiting to some range in the middle of the bar. So if you look at a weapon stat now, it just has a bar. It has 0 to 100. And just has like a bar. So you're kind of guessing like, well, am I at 50? Where am I at? Like specifically. There's other damage buffs external to weapons that allow players to one-hit kill without much investment, such as aggressive snipers, high-impact reserves, Ariana's Val, and Lane Monarch. Specifically, when combined with external 20% damage buff. As an example, Empowering Rift can give many snipers one-hit body shot capabilities in the Crucible. Overpowered. Roasted use the same buff under the hood, so we'll just we've adjusted them all at once. With the changes, it's going to be much rarer to get an easy one-hit kill with a weapon that wouldn't typically allow it. Reduce the damage bonus for Empowering Rift, High Energy Fire, and Inertia Override from 20% to 15% against players. No effect in PvE. So you can still get the Empowering Rift buffs that you're typically used to in PvE. In addition, we want special ammo to be less plentiful, making it more difficult to change weapon kills. Disabled ammo, scavenger armor mods in PvP. Guess that was a thing. Oh, so if you die, you can only get one ammo picking up a special block. One kill's worth of ammo for weapons that require... Okay, got it. Okay. Archetypes. Special weapons, in particular shotguns and fusion rifles, are responsible for one-hit kills. More than we'd like in PvP. We want them to be an option, but less ubiquitous, less effective at multiple ranges and with lower uptime. So they're talking about reducing accuracy for special weapons in air. They're talking about sniper rifles, fairly slow to ready, slow aim down sights, which mage snaps out field, mandatory for all players. Reduce stow ready aim down speeds, and this is where they'll talk about getting snapshot. They talk about slug shotguns are still overload. I mean, obviously, we've still seen it. We've still seen them. Fusion rifle usage is trending pretty high, particularly in trials. They're bringing shotguns down a little more. They made a global change. Their changes are 20 meters plus fusion rifle, one hit kill should be very uncommon. Doing combination of damage. Also, so those main ingredients and stuff like that are gonna probably be reduced a little bit with that. So they talk about those. When they rebuild fusion rifles in Season 15, we want to differentiate between the subclass families dramatically from each other, which worked well. Now that we've seen the action for a couple seasons, we're pulling back from the extremes a little bit. So fusion rifles got what they deserved. They were in the vault. They weren't really doing too much. They weren't used. And then we had grenade launchers with breach and clear. And then we had grenade launchers. I forget the name of the perk already from the artifact. But fusion rifles were god in Season 15. So with the change of fusion rifle subclass families, still very different from each other, but high impacts are stronger than rapid fires, and precision should be less dominant. High impact reduce unmodified high impact charge time from 1.0 to 9.6, increased damage per burst. So your high impact ones, your bigger boys, are going to be getting a little bit more damage and a little less charge time. Precision, they increased the charge time. Rapid fire increased the charge time and reduced the damage by 20. There's what you see with the charge time and damage per burst for all fusion rifle subfamilies. Besides, Divinity Trace rifles aren't as popular in hard content as we want. Again, they got a buff this season, and they're still not performing. They wanted to be affected by disabling scavenger armor mods than other special weapons. With this change, they're a better use of special ammo against non-red bar targets. So, non-red bar combatants, they increase the damage by 20%, increase ammo picked up per special ammo brick from 18 to 30. That is phenomenal. May use some trace rifles. Ruinous F&G. Yes. A lot in this TWAB. I mean, we're a little over halfway through, and there's still a lot to go. Guys, give me a second. I'll be right back. All right, so we just went through the changes to the fusion rifles. How the high impact ones are getting a decrease in charge time, increase in damage. They kind of showed that there. Talking about trace rifles getting another buff. Again, I believe they did get a buff in this season, and the launch of Witch Queen, and they're getting more. And with your scavengers, you're getting more ammo with that. Beautiful. So primary weapons. Auto rifles and pulse rifles aren't competitive as we like. Mid-range and lightweight pulse rifles are too hard to use to hit their optimal time to kill. With these changes, we expect auto rifles and pulse rifles to compete with hand cannons. Again, this is PvP. Auto rifle, increased damage fall off near a distance by almost a full meter.
Yes!
You can use auto rifles again in the Crucible. Especially with what did we pick up the other day? Duty Bound?
Duty Bound, I mean Sweet Sorrow as well.
Mm-hmm. Pulse rifles increase damage fall off near distance based off of the range stat. 0 range increase from 15 to 16 meters. 100 range increase 22 to 24 meters.
Thank you, Lord.
Note that this is the hip fire fall off distance and is multiplied by zoom value to get the aim down sight fall off distance. Damage fall off distance remains 40 meters regardless of range stat. Increased lightweight 450 RPM pulse rifles damage per bullet 15 to 16 with a 1.65 times precision scaler. This will increase precision damage from 24.75 to 26.4. That's a pretty significant increase.
That's a nice boost
for precision shots.
Well, not just that, but being it so like even having like an auto rifle on like when you're doing it in PvP, you could have a really decently rolled one, but hand cannons 9 out of 10 times you're gonna get tapped by those, especially if someone's pulling out a 120 or a 140 with a decent range perks on there. Mm-hmm. So now we can actually compete again, which is beautiful. And
I've noticed that a little bit, and I think with all these other changes, like when I went in with a peace of mind, like I was hitting pretty good, but
the damage,
like I mean the amount of shots that you would have to get sometimes, like
yeah, it's like it's too many bursts, or like they're left at like maybe one tap. I've had that so many times where like they're basically like one or two bullets from death.
Yes.
So that peace of mind is gonna come in clutch.
That's what I was just thinking. I was just looking at mine. I was like,
yeah.
Zoom is too important of a factor on a SMG, and submachine guns with low zoom don't feel competitive in PvP. Reduced the variance in zoom brought these base zoom up to 13 to 14 and extended the damage fall off distance. With this change, several standard zoom submachine guns will be more competitive, but this does make the insatiable submachine gun with highest perk trait RNG multi-mock compete less with auto rifles and will no longer straight up outclass every other submachine gun in PvP. If you had a good multi-mock, you were freaking.
You are what?
You were dominating.
Yeah. You said are or were?
I think were. I think this will change. Just as
decently rolled multi-mats were like god tier.
Mm-hmm. Just zoom.
Right now, it's being rivaled by submission.
Correct. So they go through the different changes that they make with each of the submachine guns with that are popular in PvP. We like adapted submachine guns and are starting to make them again, but in their current form, they kill a little too fast with body shots. So we reduce body damage to increase their body shot time to kill by 1 bullet without impacting their optimal time to kill.
That's fine. I can
sense.
Understand that.
Yeah. I mean, it's
yeah,
one
no,
more
even
bullet.
with even with a funnel webs idea, like you can, like there are cases where I'm able to like get a 3-piece with a funnel web up close and personal. So 1 more bullet ain't gonna be much of a problem.
It's not gonna be much of a problem. I mean, because it's a machine gun. Bullets are firing at with a 900 RPM freaking SMG.
Yeah.
That 1 bullet's gonna come out faster than you can blink.
Oh yeah.
They talked about precision frame hand cannons have always been good, while Airborne effectively haven't built an Icarus grip. And with these changes to Airborne functionality, wanted to preserve that feeling while translating their advantage to the new system. So they switched the intrinsic from a 75% Airborne accuracy penalty reduction to plus 25 Airborne effectiveness, which means it's the same thing.
Yeah.
Pretty much. Heavy weapons. Machine guns still aren't what they want them to be in PvE, so we're giving them an additional buff. Thank you. But less so against bosses. Okay, that's fine. Where they're extremely long range and deep ammo reserves would make them strong in too many rolls. That's okay. Give me my hammerhead back in frickin' Gambit in PvE.
Oh, I've got my recurrent impact Cabal LMG with subsistence and focus fury, and that's the freaking rapid fire frame, so I am set with that.
Increased damage by 40% against PvE enemies, 20% versus bosses. Xenophage and Grand Overture receive this buff, except for the bonuses versus bosses. Okay. Again, PvE enemies, bosses are champions and yellow bars, correct?
Correct.
So orange bars will have 40% more. Sword stat have been inconsistent for a while now, so we've tidied them up a bit. Inconsistencies in stat displays, increased charge rate, solar scar. Okay, rocket launcher subfamilies weren't differentiated enough by the previous change, so we've made them made the difference more extreme. With this change, we expect there will be a more marked trade-off for the intrinsic tracking on precisions, and a greater benefit from all the other subclass families. So, precision, negative 10% damage, both impact and detonation. High impact, no change. This subfamily has been the highest blast radius. That's like your galleys and stuff, correct?
Right. Correct.
Adaptive and aggressive, plus 10%. Exotics. All exotics that ship before Forsaken have their kill trackers. Fighting Lion got a buff. Reload speed. Improved reload speed when Thin to Hurt is active. And they improved it a couple of releases back. They're increasing the blast radius and damage, so it should be easier to trigger that perk now.
Nice.
Increased damage by 5%, and they also increased the blast radius by 0.4. Eyes of Tomorrow as a raid exotic ought to be better against PvE enemies. You probably one of the quickest raid exotics I've got. And probably one of the least run rated exotics I have.
It's like not ideal in a lot of cases. It's like Two-Tailed Fox.
Well, they're increasing damage versus bosses and champions by 30%.
Oh, very nice.
Caretaker.
I'll have to test that out next season.
Caretaker? Yeah. Leviathan's breath always felt like it should be obvious, absolutely wreck champions. And using its first shot to stun an unstoppable without doing much damage felt bad. Archer's tempo from its catalyst is significant on paper, but in practice, that draw speed buff isn't noticeable as they would like. So, Archer's tempo perk from the catalyst now has increased effect, up from 0.75. It is now 0.5625 times on Leviathan breath. That's a lot of very precise numbers. At a small delay before detonation on champions, mini bosses, and bosses. This allows the impact to stun an unstoppable, but the detonation does not deal the bonus damage against the stunned champion. That's fair. But here's my thing with that. If you're running that exotic and building around that exotic, you should have the benefit of doing that. Maybe take down the damage of the explosion a little bit, but still have it make it a little bit impactful.
For Leviathan's Breath?
Yes.
So, like, make the initial thing good, but I'm sorry. Reword that one more time. Sorry, I'm like multitasking.
So they said they added a small delay before detonating on champions, mini bosses, and bosses. This allows the impact to stun an unstoppable. So right now, anti-barrier arrows, you can stun them, break the barrier. But what this would do was when it exploded, it would take a good chunk of their health.
Right.
Agreed. Maybe that was too much. Maybe you just need to dial that blast radius back, or that blast back a little bit to still have some benefit to run that. Because now, okay, I got a little bit of a quicker draw time, but it's an exotic, right? Mm-hmm. So if I have a bow that's comparable, then maybe I can put something else onto it. Like put another exotic in there. But damage change to be more even split between impact and detonation across the board, approximately 50%. So overall damage versus champion is roughly doubled, even more compared to shooting an unstunned unstoppable champion. So you stun him, then you do a subsequent shot, you're getting more damage. So I guess that's a trade-off. Huckleberry had an underwhelming engagement range, updated zoom based on the change in baseline submachine gun zoom, 13 to 15. Our experiment with pushing the xenophage into harder hitting but slower firing rounds didn't pan out. You think? So we're increasing the rate of fire and adjusting the damage back to what it was. So the old Xeno's back.
Old Xeno's back, yeah.
120 RPM, reduced damage per bullet to match the previous, but it was still pretty powerful. It is not going to be... It doesn't benefit from the new season buff. It's not going to be a DPS thing.
Right. But now it's not going to be a bad, like, backup. Say if someone doesn't have, like, a specific exotic and they have to pull out Xeno, it's not going to be that bad of a fallout, because before the issue with Xeno was like, oh hey, like I can't get off as many shots as I'd like to.
I use Xeno a lot in invading in Gambit.
Yeah.
The hardest thing was with that was you fired a shot, and if you connected, you needed 2 shots to kill. It's a 2-shot kill. It was. So I'd rather back off the damage and give me 3 more shots, because the way people move and their mobility sometimes, like you hit them once. Like, you have to be kind of, like you said, leading your shot like the glaives to figure out where they're going to go. So now you have to figure, are they going to go up with a jump, to the side, left or right, or are they going to slide underneath of it towards you or away from you? Like, it's... I like this. I may use that in Gambit more. Maybe. I don't know where else. Where else would you use that, then? No.
It really depends on what the what some of the champion mods are going to be next season too.
True.
Because it could be a viable like solar heavy.
The Monarch is too oppressive when combined with external damage buffs. We felt that it could be stronger in PvE. With this change combined with damage buff change, we've introduced a 60 resilience gate on killing a guardian in PvP with a crit, while in Empowering Rift or similar. So they took back the massive freaking damage you would give to a guardian. So it reduced the poison tick damage to players by 25%. That's a pretty big nerf.
Thank you.
Change poison damage type from burn to poison. This is largely housekeeping, not gameplay significant. Read that again. Change poison damage type from a burn solar to a poison.
Yeah, it's a poison damage instead of a burn now. So instead of a void burn. It's
Interesting.
Well, I still think it's good because, let's face it, a lot of us getting 2-tapped by Lay Monarch, and it's getting annoying.
Poison subclass.
Well, I mean, they've already been testing poison out for a while. I mean...
It would make sense. You have Osteostrigo, which is poison. You have No,
Malfeasance. Okay,
Thorn.
you're thinking Thorn.
Yes.
And Necrotic Grips.
Necrotic Grips. So you already have things in place to put a poison subclass in. Lorentz Driver can be difficult fighting against PvP, in part because it does very high body shot damage. No shit. With this change, getting left super weak by a body shot should be less common, though we're keeping an eye on how to exchange lands and maybe revisit later. Reduce body shot damage against players by 20%. Would have loved to see it more. This will also prevent it from being a one-hit kill with a body shot while in an empowering rift. Thank you. Body damage reverts to old behavior when in weapons damage mode. Precision damage in any mode is unchanged, as it should be. If you're getting a precision crit hit with a Lorenz, it's a sniper rifle. Oh, I mean, is that a sniper rifle? No, it's a
linear fusion.
Linear fusion.
But see, I understand, like, if that thing is charging up and it hits you in the head and kills you, that's totally understandable, right? It's like
as with
taking
anything.
a linear fusion rifle or a sniper rifle, or like a shotgun shell up close and personal to the head. But like someone one tapping me with that from range in the body is just no. That's just no. I'm sorry.
It's an exotic, and like Cloud Strike, it should have you should have certain things that go along with it. But Jesus, it's bad enough that it provides a freaking a void thing that sucks you in and gives them a better chance at a precision kill. Golly.
Yeah. Or just take it out of cluster of you, especially on playing trials. Like if you're all too close together and one of y'all gets hit, sorry, that's the round right there.
Skyburner's Oath felt like it didn't have a niche except for Airborne memes, so we've made a bunch of changes aiming to improve its ease of use, give it some more utility, and really push it for that Airborne role. Increase ADS projectile speed to 9999. It is now a hit scan. And we'll read through this and I'll give my feedback on this. ADS and hipfire now 150 RPM. Hipfire projectile no longer tracks, but arcs similar to grenade launcher and has a larger detonation size than ADS. The hipfire detonation also applies a burn to targets. I liked the tracking. Honestly, in the GM, I ran this in the GM this weekend. I liked it that I could sit there and stay in cover and kind of fire and it would track. The tracking on it wasn't that... In my mind, it wasn't that bad. You had to be close for it to kind of veer off and go get them. But I can see why maybe that was a little bit too much. But you're getting that burn to targets on that detonation. So if it's hitting the ground near them, they're going to have a burn effect in that area, and you could utilize that.
Yeah.
35. Last word plays very differently on mouse and keyboard than it does on controller, but the disparity doesn't need to be that large. Thank you. I'd love to use last word on mouse and keyboard. We're keeping an eye on this one too. Reduce mouse and keyboard recoil penalty from 33 to 22%. I am going to run last word just to meme it. Arbalist is more dominant than intended in PvE content.
Wait, what?
If you did not know that, ladies and gentlemen, I'm sorry. Able to fill the anti-barrier role as well as shield breaking and boss damage. We made a fairly small adjustment here to need to look at it again in future season. Reduce damage versus champions by 25%. We'll still break barriers in one hit.
That's fine.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah, that's fine.
Graviton Lance's catalyst didn't help the weapon enough, and we wanted to give it a bit more boost. This gives it some interesting utility in PvE and PvP, particularly with the buff to the exotic primary weapons in the Witch Queen. Yes. I was wondering why, when I was running that, I was like, this still doesn't feel good. It still does not feel like Ruinous Effigy was much more affected by the Void 3.0 changes than this. So Catalyst changed from granting Hidden Hand to granting Vorpal Weapon and Turnabout.
Oh.
Like it. We'll definitely try
that.
that out with Void 3.0. Because that is a Void. Right? Am I totally...
What do you mean?
Yeah, it's a Void weapon. Yeah. Well, I'm saying like with the explosions and the void damage that you can do and proc your void 3.0 procs. Volatile rounds. You imagine that with volatile rounds?
Oh yeah.
Grand Overture's most recent adjustment switched the missiles to fire in bursts of 5, which allows for more granularity in unloading that damage, but sometimes you just want to fly out all at once. Reduce time between bursts when in missile mode. Okay. Cold Heart, arc damage type updated. Cold Heart's exotic trait is a trace rifle, no longer fits in the word legendary trace rifles. Okay, Prometheus lens, solar damage type updated, and generally this needs some tweaks to be viable. Sustained damage applies more useful burn to targets. Wave splitter, void damage update, and power cycling mechanic was interesting, but ultimately had to capitalize on a power level no longer cycles randomly. The default damage output is the same as old middle tier. Picking up an order power now grants 10 seconds maximum power and caps 20 seconds. So you pick up multiple. Astia Striga's projectile somehow ship rotated by 90 degrees. Looks a bit weird. Really? I thought that's what it looked like. I thought that would be cool. So it's supposed to be vertical?
I mean, I don't know.
I don't know. Whatever. Lord of Wolves is a kind of shotgun, but it has its own custom tuning. It wasn't impacted by previous shotgun change, and was much too strong for shotguns and fusion rifles. A lot of people were abusing this in trials. I know that. Reduce damage fall off to start and end by 25%. Good.
Thank you.
They nerfed that back down. You know what they never mention in here, guys?
Well, they gave it the same. They gave it the same buff that other shotguns have.
You know what's never in here, guys? The T word.
T word.
The TS. I'm not saying it because it'll probably break the game again.
Wait, TS? What are you talking about?
Telesto.
Oh. Hello. We haven't really been seeing that.
Tabasco.
Like a lot in general.
You're looking for? I can see it in your eyes. Tabasco, good evening. Hello, brother. How's your week going? We're doing TWABs and eating tater tots. You?
Oh, Verge is eating tater tots.
I've had enough. So enhanced perk, where an enhanced perk exists, an adjustment is needed. It's been adjusted in the same way. Okay, so snapshot sights felt mandatory on sniper rifles forever. With this change to sniper rifles, snapshots will feel about the same, but one without snapshot will feel a lot snappier. So increased ADS animation speed scaler from 0.5 to 0.75 for special weapon ammos. Opening shot felt mandatory on shotguns forever, in large part because it gives part of its buff a damage fall-off scaler. Since something we like on short-range weapons, you can still feel the range bump on this change unless range is already capped, but it won't let weapons push completely outside their intended engagement range. So what it was doing was pushing outside of it. It's got a busy work week, same here, brother. Today was absolutely crazy. Absolutely. Past 3 days. Tomorrow, hopefully a little bit more, but I got 2 projects I got to finish up tomorrow afternoon. By tomorrow afternoon. So they reduced the damage scaler and stuff. Full choke has been go-to for magazine perk forever, justified or not. With this change, other magazine options should be competitive. Increased spread angle scale. This is just all like foreign language to me sometimes.
So I liked what they said about the opening shot thing, because say you get a shotgun where you've got accurized rounds and you've got a ranged master word. Now you put opening shot on that and you just gave it an even like larger buff on its range.
It was outside of its range. Yeah,
it was too much.
Hence why shotguns were not like in Call of Duty Tabasco, where they can shoot you cross map like a sniper rifle, but it still could absolutely whoop your butt in ranges that you were like, wait a minute, A shotgun should not kill you from there.
Like it doesn't make sense.
No, it does not. Tabasco, games tomorrow night, brother. Friday night fun night. Friday night fun
Friday
night
night
of gaming.
Ooh, that's right. I gotta get ready for that.
Do you want to do Friday night COD? Friday night whatever. Tiddlywinks. Smoothbore, as always, felt like an awkward magazine perk, so we're buffing it a little bit. Reduced speed, angle, scale from 1.1 to 1.075. Desperado is a strong perk in its current form, but I'd like to put it on more weapons without breaking PvP. With this adjustment, it is still strong, has more PvE utility, and can be applied to pulse rifle subfamilies decided from high impact if desired. Increase fire recovery scaler from 0.15 to 0.7. Doesn't fire as fast with the perk active. Reduce duration from 7 seconds to 6 seconds. And remove the PvE damage penalty from that. Air Assault was shelved a long time ago, but adding the Airborne effect in this stat gave us a opportunity to turn it into a perk that actually does what it says in the description. With this change, Airborne gunplay while wounded will be much more effective. Yay for me, because I'm usually wounded. So maybe now I can jump in the air and I can have up to plus 60 Airborne effectiveness when wounded. See, I built around that. Neat. Mulligan was never quite strong enough to warrant a pick previously, but buffing it would have been risky on special weapons. Wasn't Mulligan good? I had it on my Nikelos sniper one time. I had it on something when it was like actually decent.
It's snipers is probably what it would be on. Mostly what you're going for.
Increased chance to return ammo on a miss from 20% to 35% on primary appos, unchanged on special heavy. Compulsive reloader shipped a little weak. With its change, you can really feel the reload speed bump increase from plus 40 to plus 50. Added a 0.95 times reload animation scaler, so it should be a little bit quicker.
Okay, that's good.
Adagio is allowing for one-hit body shot kills with slug shotguns. While it's possible with other perks such as swashbuckler, investment required to trigger the perk is too low for that power bump. Slug shotgun, they reduce damage bonus. Shotgun's 30-24. They're trying to reduce shotgun usage. They're trying to reduce all the things that you're seeing in PvP right now that are just...
Wait till you see the fusion rifle part.
Breaking. Yeah, I think we read it already, didn't we?
The one tap. Did you already get to the section with the one tapping crucible?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. What they did for fusion rifles is very nice.
Yes.
Take that main ingredient.
Mm-hmm. And that's what we talked about. It was too much. Like, yeah, it was good to see him, and a change from freaking seeing freaking Fellwinter's lie in your face, but all you saw was main ingredients in your face, and it was just like, okay. Like, again, I'm talking...
One devil for another.
I'm talking as a casual PvP player, guys. Like, it's just, like, I don't go in there with the right builds and stuff like that and kits, so I want things to just feel a little bit more balanced. They should have a specialized PvP pool for freaking subpar gamers.
What they should have is freelance control.
They should have freelance control. Icarus Grip now grant the airborne effect in the stat instead of its previous airborne accuracy penalty scaler. Remove the airborne accuracy scaler, now grants plus 15 airborne effect in this stat. So again, if you're using a hand cannon, that's at a 25 airborne effectiveness, and then add this, you're getting it at 40. You bump it up to 40. That was bad. Let's soak it in for a while. I need to do that. Wait, more weapon talk? Okay. So, I saw a lot of people freaking flip out about this. Well... It isn't... They're talking about the sandbox information to keep players like you in the know. Just before last season ended, we announced a list of weapons that would be rotating out of Destiny 2 activities with little time to spare. Some of these weapons could be seen as powerhouses in previous sandbox metas, while others were just happy to be included. Next season to season after will be no different. In an effort to keep loot pools from overcrowding as we continue to develop and release sweet new pieces of gear, we'll have a handful of weapons from Iron Banner, Nightfalls, and Trials of Osiris rotating out of the start of Season 17. We also included a list of weapons that will be rotating out in Season 18 and hopes to give you a full season to target anything that you might be missing for your collection. Leaving this season from Iron Banner, the included finality sniper, the finite impact hand cannon, Nightfalls, the comedian shotgun, the palindrome hand cannon. Oof. Trials of Osiris, Shira's Wrath. Oof. The messenger. Oof. Leaving loot pools in Season 18, Peacebound sidearm. Oof. Archon's Thunder Machine Gun. Don't think I've even got that one. Nightfall's
Archon,
Plug
it's,
1. The
Plug
hot
1,
head.
okay.
I got a great hot head, by the way, so thank God I got that. And I got a good Plug 1. I don't have the best palindrome, but I have a good one. Travel Desire, Sire's Soul, and the Summoner. So...
Ooh, they are. So they're getting rid of the Summoner in season
18. So,
ironically enough, they just well, that's fine. You get it for 2 more seasons. The remainder of this season and next season.
while we don't have any firm plans to share, we can note that the team is aware of the feedback surrounding weapon rotation availability and looking at the opportunities and features to address it. But to keep expectations in check, this is like a long-term investigation. So we don't expect too much news over the next season. Once we have information, we'll be sure to let you know. Okay. Let's talk about this real quick. Okay?
Okay. Out of all those ones mentioned, the 3 weapons I see the most in terms of PvP are Shayura's, Palindrome, and I would say the Peace Bond. I don't really see people using hotheads in PvP.
No, but PvE, this is really good.
Yeah, it's good in PvE, but again, like but you're usually using that for like more of your higher end like activity stuff. But there's also like a bunch of like rocket launchers and stuff out there that you can still get with like fairly decent rolls.
Here's what they need to do.
Yeah, the Comedian, I don't really see that running around a lot. Finite Impactor, you know what? I'm okay with them getting rid of a hand cannon because we got a few new hand cannons this season.
Mm-hmm. They're not great, but...
No, but I mean, you still got people I see most people still running Ace, Eyes of Luna, Pally. So, they're even though with one going away, there's still like other options people are going to use. And anybody gets upset about that is 9 out of 10 times a liar, probably. I'll say it. Don't at me.
Here's my thing.
Shoot.
Here's my thing. This is a looter shooter.
Yep.
I understand you're putting new things in and stuff like that, and some of it's good, some of it's not good. Okay? Take a look at what people like. Okay? Take a look at what's being used and what people are liking. Okay, you're making changes to the sandbox. Okay, so that should affect these weapons. So keep them viable. Now, you don't have to have them as drops inside the actual game mode itself. If you want people to target the new guns, keep it in there. But if I want to go to the vendors and spend my currency on these weapons, you should do that. You should increase your vault size. You should reorganize how the vault looks. You should organize the vault like with the addition of resonance weapons right now. You should have a special place in the vault for resonant weapons that you're not going to use, that you want to store for weapon extraction. I understand it's a lot of stress and stuff on it, but if you want to keep adding stuff in, like keep some of the stuff that's popular. Like you said, the Comedian, I could care less. Get rid of it. Finite Impactor, get rid of it. The occluded Finality Sniper Rifle, get rid of it. But the Palindrome, a freaking fan favorite from D1? No. Sharuth's Rat, I've been trying to, like, I play Trials just to get one. And I haven't. I did for, what's the hand cannon? What was the hand cannon that was there? Why can't I find it? Oh,
the
Igneous Hammer.
RPM,
The Igneous Hammer. I literally went and pounded my head into the wall to try to get a Igneous Hammer, and I got a decent one. Like, like I was like, yay! Like, I don't care just as long as I have it because pretty much anything you got on it, it was a good gun. Like, you can make it work. But like, Plug 1, Hothead, like, I mean, these are viable in other game modes. Don't get Soul. The Summoner, like the Messenger, like, yeah, I'd like to have these because maybe it'll intrigue me to play PvP more. I understand that you don't want to keep it saturated, but have opportunities to go purchase it. Like the Eververse. Like you have so much in the Eververse that you can go find and do. Like maybe make that a part of like a focusing an engram from the vendor. Like you pull the engram and you can focus it into one of those weapons at a cost, obviously, if you want to do that. Make it worth something to then invest in some part of the other game where you have to play. But I don't know. That's just the way I feel about it. I don't like it. I understand why, but I don't like it.
So I feel there's a. So I get what you're saying as well. I think this is one of the few things like we actually disagree on when it comes to that. Only because like in the past, one of the biggest issues that people were having with Destiny, because like you said, even when they would keep these weapons in the loot pool and introduce others, everybody would still stick with those weapons because, you know, like you said, like they were your favorites. And I understand that, you know, like you have your weapons, you have your loadouts, you like them. But then all these new weapons get introduced into the game and you're not seeing them like utilized. So then they stop adding stuff. And then the community starts, you know, getting an upheaval like, oh, when are we getting some new things or with this and this and this? But when you go into Crucible or you go into Gambit, you know, what weapons are you seeing consistently? And I think everybody can at least agree with that part to a certain extent. Like, the reason I think, like, and it's one thing to rotate out versus getting rid of it from the game completely, right? So there is a possibility that it may come back. We still don't know like what else is potentially being added into the game. So they could add some newer, better ones. They could potentially add bring them back later on. But I think this gives, in a way, it's like forcing people's hands to adapt. Otherwise, everybody still kind of sticks with the same old, and nothing changes because, oh hey, like we still have our old stuff. We don't want to move forward. So that's why I say it's a double-edged sword. In some cases, it's a double-edged sword.
Okay.
That being said, I do think some of their choices could have been. So some of their choices I feel like were okay, like no big deal, and then some of theirs were not necessary. So specifically, I think the Nightfall and like Trials were probably unnecessary ones to remove.
Yes.
Personally, because because when you think of Nightfall weapons, right? Majority of the time nowadays, like for example, you know, like cool, I did a Nightfall and I got my duty bound, but when Grandmasters come out, it's like, why would I want to just get the regular Nightfall weapon when I can get the Adept version? So most people are going to wait until GMs come out to get those, like, you know, Adept Hotheads or Adept Plug 1s or Duty Bounds, X, Y, and Z. But they're a pain in the ass activity to get through. Don't get me wrong. You get rewarded well for the amount of, you know, nonsense you go through. But I feel like now that you're getting rid of those, like getting rid of something from like a difficult end game activity like that is a mistake. It's the same with Trials, right? So like, you know, it's not like solo Trials, solo queuing is always there. And usually when solo queuing gets brought in, there's a lot of people going in Trials to get those weapons, because in a normal rotation, if they don't have if a casual person doesn't have a fire team, right? Probably going to be spending a lot longer than they would probably like to in Trials to potentially get some of these weapons, you know, at the hopes of like getting the role they want. Like when the summoner came back, so many people were happy that they finally got to get it again, because I had mine all the way back from like like sometime last year. Middle of last year, I had one in my vault still.
I get it.
That was still viable.
I totally get it, but you were talking about like how they want to introduce new things, right? Funnel web, peace of mind right now. 2 new weapons this expansion, right? Or inside that sandbox and inside that meta right now. So if they can introduce weapons like that and still have some of these going around it and intrigue people to go play with those weapons, it gives you opportunity to feel like you're comfortable with something and can compete with things, you know, like, yeah, don't put things on there. And again, I think it goes more with tuning things versus what the guns actually are. Like, tune some machine guns so then Shira's isn't as dominant. Because right now, is Shira's dominant?
It's about on par. It's about on par with it was until they released funnel web, and you're seeing more people running around with funnel webs.
So like you're saying, like they're introducing these new guns and stuff like that, and they want people to use them, absolutely. But you still have some of these other weapons that are still around that are still viable if somebody wants to use it. So I listen. I understand, and we're gonna agree and disagree on this one.
Yeah, that's why I said this is one of those things that I already know. Is like there's some things we disagree on. There's some things we agree on. Totally all right.
Yeah.
Like I said, it's a double. This one's always a double-edged sword.
Exactly. I don't want to see them. I don't want to see them get rid of this stuff. I think I understand. Get it out of the pool. All right. Like I totally understand that because you should. If you want those new weapons, go into the activity and play the activity. Like, what do you get out of PsyOps right now? The new gun. So if you want a peace of mind that's good, you got to go farm PsyOps, right? That's where it's dropping from. So you got to go farm it. Totally understandable. I can't get it anywhere else. That's where I need to get it. But if I play Trials and I really want to Shira's Wrath and I build up my materials and my currency to then go focus one of his engrams in on it, I should have that ability to do that for an older weapon. Like, get it out, put it in the vendor, make it cost something to me that the cost is actually playing that activity, and then, you know what I mean? Like, if I want to try to farm for a better palindrome, I'm not going to go farm it inside the actual activity, inside the Nightfall. But I can farm enough, like, spoils, like, for raids. Like, so
if I'm interpreting this right, sorry, didn't mean to cut you off.
You're fine.
If I'm interpreting this right, what you're saying is, like, if it's out of the loot pool, it's out of the loot pool, but say you have like an umbral engram that you want to focus into like a certain thing because the helm actually is introduced that this season with Season of the Risen weapons, armor, as well as Dreaming City. So because not too many people are running around in the Dreaming City just doing like, you know, the blind wells, so it's hard to like get that gear from there, but you have an option of another location to get it from. So what you're saying is maybe introduce something with like a Vanguard focusing to potentially get like not an adept version, but a basic version of like, you know, the palindrome or the plug one, and same or like similar to like Trials. Like, hey, like I want to get like, you know, I want to try to farm for like a summoner or, you know, an Eye of Soul, even if they're out of the initial loot pool for the activity, but you can still get them.
You need something specific currency wise out of that activity to focus.
Okay, I was just making sure we're on the same track.
So
there.
How like say like Vanguard to, or like now you need like certain things. I'm trying to like think about like when Season of the Splicer was there, and they had to override activities, and you got the currency out of that to focus umbral engrams. Do that out of Trials. Do that out of Strikes. Like, have a specific material that you get that you can utilize to focus for these certain weapons.
Here's the ironic thing. They did have that, and then they got rid of it.
Season of Arrivals, again, best thing. Again, but that was like the seasonal stuff. When Season of Arrival was going and they brought the recaster in, like that was such a perfect thing because that's how I got my Achilles SMG. That's how I got my.
We've had that each season. Like now we've got the Psychogenic Intel and the Risen Umbral Energy. However, what you were describing, we did have that before in the form of Trials tokens. And
Vanguard tokens,
and Crucible tokens, but they got rid of those and they changed like the progression system, which I feel like if they had kept the tokens and instead like pair that with what you were saying with, hey, have a specific currency to focus this umbral into that specific thing, that would honestly be pretty cool, because now that gives me another incentive to go into that activity
Yes.
and just play it, even if I'm not winning trials matches, right? If I just play the trials match and get like maybe 2 or 3 tokens per match, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I spend like, a couple hours, a couple hours a day or so over the weekend playing that and building that up over the season, I'd totally be okay with that.
Don't hand it to me. I don't need it handed to me.
I still have to play the activity.
Correct. What do we play strikes for right now? To get 3 done to get a pinnacle, right?
Pretty much.
But if you have in Nightfalls another reason to go in and play Nightfalls at higher levels to get things, and I want to pull a palindrome for some reason, to give me the opportunity to do that.
Yeah.
Like, at the Recaster, have a Vanguard section, a Gambit section, a Crucible section,
Yeah.
Or have that at each vendor, like a Recaster type thing. Like, you can focus those. I mean, they have that now, but it's the seasonal stuff. Like,
yeah, and even with the new progression system, right? So like every time you level up on like how many times have by the end of the season we go to Shatz and it's like, oh hey, I've got like 20 engrams sitting there with him, but 9 out of 10 times for the majority of the part, like the loot really isn't that good.
No.
So there's like, half the time I'm just deleting that for resources.
100%. So again, that's my biggest take on it, is that keep it in, readjust how you do things.
Yeah.
Increase the vault size, 1.
Yes.
100%. Because, again, yes, I have a lot of stuff in my vault, but I guarantee you there's only a few that are replicated, because the ones that I have in there are good rolls on those guns. Because when they make sandbox changes like this, you never know when those guns will become viable again. So I'd like to replace my palindrome that I have with maybe a better roll, because right now on my palindrome I have a good PvE one with Thresh, Outlaw, High Cal rounds, and Small Bore. Okay, that's a good PvE roll, but I maybe want a better PvP roll because I might feel comfortable using it. I like the way it fires. There's just something about that gun that resonates with certain people. Like,
yeah.
So
no, I've got high impact reserves, quick draw, high cal rounds, and small bore for reload speed, mass sword, and that's my adept one, and I just do like a range adept range mod.
Yeah.
On there. So no, and that took me God knows how long to get. So I can sympathize with that.
I don't have an adept one, so put adept weapons in there, and guess what? Now you're paying out of your butt for it. But again, if you want to invest that and spend your materials on that, just like upgrading an armor piece, you have to use golf balls. Right?
Yeah.
And it's a very hard currency to come by unless you're playing high-end activities. So make it tough, but don't make it unobtainable.
True.
All right.
No, I can agree with that. But I think that would be a pretty cool system to introduce, specifically with the end game activities.
We beat that horse to death. Now.
No, totally fine.
That's a good discussion.
That was a really good discussion. 10 out of 10.
With weapons,
and we did it without throwing hands.
No, but again, this is why you can have good conversations. This is a good conversation, Chad. This is how you have good conversations. Like you can disagree on something and still come to look. We didn't agree, but we found our middle ground to say, that sounds like a good idea. I understand where Cookie's coming from, 100%, and Cookie understands where I'm coming from. But
100%.
That's the thing. It's different perspectives, and you learn from that. So they're talking about abilities. They're gonna in the near term. They're gonna do some things. They're gonna put out a hotfix next week, and these are gonna be the following changes: Axiom Bolt base cooldown increased from 91 seconds to 152 seconds.
Okay, let's go.
Yeah, you freaking Axiom.
That shit
bolt
was
tossers.
being brutalized in trials.
Titan's Barricade base cooldown when the Bastion Void aspect is equipped is now 82 seconds, up from 53. Okay. Matches the recharge rate of the Warlock Rift. Okay, that's fine.
Okay.
Offensive Bulwark now provides 60% less bonus grenade energy regeneration in PvP game modes. Okay.
Okay, fine with that.
Whisper of Change now provides 15% bonus damage resistance against players when near a stasis crystal, down from 25%. Okay. Not changed in PvE. Renewal Grasp. The new hot exotic in PvP, especially competitive. While equipped, Renewal Grasp increases the base cooldown of Dust Shield Grenade from 62 seconds to 152. Oops, get wrecked.
Wow.
You got about 2.5 minutes there of not having a grenade, so enjoy.
And that's without any like additional like grenade buffs or anything like that.
Correct. Which what was happening was it was a minute, and people were putting grenade buffs on and getting them back in like 30 seconds. So like literally in one round, you could have 3 freaking Dust Shield grenades going.
Oh yeah. The
outgoing damage penalty applied to player victims in Renewal Grasp Dust Shield Grenade reduced from 50 to 20%. Huge.
Yes.
Huge nerf. But damage unchanged in PvE targets, but I don't think people were using Renewal Grasp in PvE activities.
No, that's strictly PvP builds.
And they're gonna have a bunch of other things. Gambit Labs, Moat Thief, Cook.
Yeah, I saw that. I'm excited about that one.
We're gonna pass this on to Maddie and see how excited she is, because Cookie and Maddie are invaders, ladies and gentlemen. Looking for next week, we have our second run of Gambit Labs coming into play. Invasion Swap went off well, giving us great data and feedback on moat dunking, invasion cadence, primeval healing in a world where you invited opponents onto your playing field when hitting certain thresholds. For this edition of Labs, we'll be experimenting with the Moat Thieves starting next week. How much has changed since our original Labs announcement? The original comp set of Invader was Guardian as a taken terror, overpowered and dangerous, something new to have to fight while having very compelling. We don't believe it's the only compelling Invader fantasy. We believe the sneaky Moat Thief is worth exploring too. Yes, I like it. Normal mode terrain from having 2 blockers is disabled. All right.
I'm
you can't do that anymore. That's fine. Instead, every second the invader is invading, 1 mode terrains directly from your bank to the invader's bank. Now, keep in mind, invaders need to be near the bank in order to drain the moats. This won't be too much of a hide-and-seek affair. Do you prioritize clearing the active front of enemies, or do you help your teammates addressing a beefed-up Titan relaxing behind their barricade? All right, Bubble Titans.
I was going to say, Bubble Titan, Well-Lock.
Bubble Titans.
That's initially what I'm thinking right there, my guy.
Here's the strat, ladies and gentlemen. You get 3 of your players, or all 4 of your players, to get 15. You bank all at the same time. Open a portal. Said guy goes in the portal. Now you have 3 large blockers and somebody else standing on the bank to deal with. And if it's a Titan in a Titan bubble, yeah. What do you think?
Oh yeah, that's gonna be. So the reason I think that's gonna be cool is one of the issues we have on Gambit at the moment, or at least not issue, sorry, but like your concern with an invader, right? Is, you know, where have they popped up? Are they hanging back and trying to pick you off from range with a galley or a sniper or something, right? So it's usually like. That's like the OG hide and seek. Whereas like an invader doesn't even have to just like come out and kill you right away. But you got that anxiety of like, oh, he or she or they're still here. Where are they? You don't know.
Well, now you know they're gonna be near the bank.
Well, now you know it's like, okay, they're probably gonna end up coming near the bank. So there's gonna be a lot more coordination going on with your team, or at least hopefully more coordination. But now you have a general idea of where that invader is going to be. And they're not just going to be hanging back, chilling at like when we have like the one Nessus map, and it's like, oh, they're chilling up on steps overlooking a bank, just waiting to rocket you or something of that sort.
I wonder.
Or Titan coming from command and just sitting there.
Yeah, I wonder what the radius is that's going to proc the drainage on the bank. I'm thinking it's just like that area, like that circle area, so you can like run around
I would say
area.
like roughly the circle around the bank.
Mm-hmm. So like that's one on Pacifica, like on Titan, it's like that middle round upper section. Like you can only hang out there and do that. I like this. I think it's going to be a cool thing.
I think we're gonna see some interesting. We're probably gonna see some more of those, like it's probably gonna be more bubble titans. There's probably gonna be well lots, because I'll totally go in as a well lot and drop my well right there, and just start hammering them however I can. Because 9 out of 10 times when you kill them, they're gonna be coming from spawn.
I like it.
That's gonna be interesting. I'm excited. It's actually gonna be challenging for invaders too. Like, because you could still kill someone and they're gonna lose motes, but now, like, if you want to get some more like action in there, especially if your team's like still sending over blockers, like, I feel like it's gonna be really cool for like early game type deal. Like early to mid round.
Like it. All right, so that's Gambit Labs next week. Prime drops are back. If you're a Twitch Prime member from Amazon Prime, make sure your account is linked. Actually, let's go check that out now and see if we can do that. Let's.
Mine should still be good.
Where? I thought I had it on here. Guess I don't.
I'm just farming Wellsprings right now because it's the bow is.
I guess I don't. I'll do it on my other computer. But you get a couple sparrows, a ghost shell, and what's the dance? The taunt dance. I don't know which one that is. Wait, is your quest? It can be somewhat tricky keeping track of every quest in Destiny 2 has to offer. On occasion, quests may be abandoned to take some space in inventory. Yes, thank you. Or help. Focus on some more important storylines the player is completing. Where do quests go when they've been abandoned? Well, needing to answer some, not in all the community this week. Destiny player support has run down the hotfix timelines for next week, as well as some general guidance for players seeking to cross the bridge on their journey to find the Holy Grail. Contest mode, emblem grant, quest archive. This is for if you did it in a 24-hour extension of the contest modifier grid. Players who are missing quests, who are attempting to reacquire previously abandoned quests, should visit the quest archive in the Tower Courtyard next to Postmaster. From here, players can reacquire them. Players who are unable to locate their abandoned quests in the quest archive should also verify that if they have checked all the vendor pages for that. Hotfix 4.0.1.1 is next Tuesday. They thought they're going to have some fixes. Summer auto rifle from Scene 14's reputation. Reward is missing a masterwork slot. The Lightblade and Birthplace of Val Grandmaster Nightfalls did not count towards the completion of the Total Conquest Triumph. And Gambit of Prime Meal Shield sometimes does not successfully drop after defeating the envoys. Sad faces. Talking about some other things, and then you have the movies of the week and everything else with that artist. Artist. Look at this one, Sathona, like as a human. It's crazy.
That's yes. Please. Do you imagine that if the the Hive originally had like a more like, not like a full-on human look, but like more human-esque? That'd be pretty interesting.
Yeah. So they're talking about if you went flawless in a trials passage, a couple lost on ability to continue to have chances post-match adept weapon drops and you reach 7 total wins. They're talking about that. In any case, I heard a reward might be desirable for those who enjoy longer views on the battlefield. Never did snag a good roll of Redacted, so I'll be spending some time in there this weekend. What is Redacted?
I feel like if they're talking Redacted, potentially
there's
Aisha's
something.
Embrace.
Yeah, there's something coming out in Trials this weekend.
Huh. Well, that'll be tomorrow.
It's a never did snag a good roll, so it's something that's been there before. So that's it, ladies and gentlemen. That is your TWAB Tater Tots and Twabs with Cookie
Yeah.
is done.